Welcome to Break Through the Ordinary podcast. Are you ready to commit to your future self? Well, if you are, the sibling duo, Mark and Claudine Schermante, will take you on a journey of self-discovery to unlock your highest potential. Through impactful conversations with entrepreneurs, thought leaders, coaches, and healers, we are here to share practical strategies and tools that generate the life you envision. New episodes drop every Monday.
And how lucky are we to have Nick Pags, who is a growth mindset expert, certified behavior change specialist, and inspirational life coach. He understands the desire to change, why you don't, and the mindset shifts needed to find success in all areas of your life. Throughout his private and group coaching, live events, and corporate speaking, he affords his clients the opportunity to break through their old ways of being, rewrite the mental patterns that don't serve them, and truly embrace their limitless potential to live out their most abundant lives. And yes, he does. We're looking forward to having you and speaking with you, and happy to have you here.
Thanks, guys. I'm so honored and super excited to jump into conversation with you both today.
Same here, Nick. So let's start off with the since we're stand for Breakthrough the Ordinary, of course, we're going to have a question about what is it that you think people get to have a breakthrough in their lives to live the life that they say they want to have?
Yeah, I think life is a really interesting, big game that we play, that we are constantly, I think, in my perspective, having worked with so many people at this point around this idea of breakthrough, that it's a constant, maybe it's the word is aggressive, but battle between who you've kind of become and who you want to become in the future. And it's being able to visit who is it that I've become through conditioned patterns, through my parents teaching me, through what I've seen on TV and social media, and all this stuff has brought me to this point. And is this who I want to be? Is this how I want to show up? It's really fantastic to watch people go through that journey. Sometimes it's heavy, sometimes it's light and fun, but it's always a journey. That's a guarantee. There's always a journey involved. There's never just okay, I made it. So I think it's pretty expansive and powerful to watch people embrace whatever it is they want to go through and get through and change. There's always pieces of our lives that we want to look differently than they are at the moment. And how do we allow ourselves to get there?
I like that. Who we become and who do we want to be? Because we have become somebody, right? We've become somebody. So what are for you, the blocks or the lies that people tell themselves the most, or that you find the most common?
I think so much of it, at least I've experienced it a lot during like COVID stuff, while people have been locked in, they haven't had their regular routine. I think it's really amazing to see how much blame there's been put on where they've come from, specifically around like parental guidance. And I was talking to somebody yesterday about this. I want to make the distinction that it's really important to acknowledge there's a difference between being a victim of an experience and having a victim mindset around said experience. And we go through stuff, and there are people who are victims of some really heavy, hard, challenging traumas, experiences, parenting, loss, whatever it is. And to watch people transform their perspective from I am a victim of this thing and this is where I'm at, and now I'm sad, angry, upset, guilty, frustrated, resentment filled because of it, or I am who I am becoming. I have the chance to become someone through this experience. So I think that people most often, Mark, spend their time blaming their past or their history or where they came from or what they went through as a reason for why they are where they are. And that to me is like the victim mindset, is the like, I'm stuck because of what I went through. And then we see so many people who have this unbelievable drive to change, expand, grow, evolve. And often their background is just as crappy, just as horrible, just as terrible. I mean, I'm not judging anybody's experience versus anybody else's, but it's amazing to watch who are those people that choose to latch on to, I have the opportunity to grow. I'm not a victim in this situation. At least my mindset isn't. I was a victim of that thing. That doesn't define who I am and where I'm going and what I'm becoming. So I think it's really amazing to watch when people shift out of the victim conversation and into the victor conversation around how they see the world and how they see what's happening to them, through them, and for them.
Great.
I like that summary, to them, for them. Such an empowering way to have it.
Yeah. To them, through them, for them. I love it.
To them, through them, for them. And in terms of, do you see certain blocks, like for you working with people, that you get to help them have to go from victim to victor?
That's a step, a real big step.
Yeah. When people are shifting from the victim mindset to the victor mindset, I think it always starts, at least all of my work is questioning. I don't know if I'll ever be, but I definitely don't think at this point in my life, I have the ability to just tell people how it is. You should do it this way. Once you do it that way, you'll get these results. Like, I don't think there's ever going to be a space for me to do that. I don't want that space. What I pride myself in is my ability to powerfully ask the right questions so that the professional on that person's life, which is them, can answer the questions that they need to answer for themselves. And I think I spend most of my time asking the question, what does it look like for you to own this? And do you want to own this? And getting really clear, guys, this is important. It's getting really clear on why ownership and radical responsibility for your current situation is absolutely mandatory for change. It's so imperative. And I think when I look at most people and where they want to go and what they want to create, they spend so much time, energy, and effort finding blame, finding a reason for why it isn't the way they want it to look, that they're taking energy off of making it the way they want it to look. So I think I just start with questions. I really spend a lot of time on asking people, what is it that you want? So let's get clear on that. And who do you want to be? What my intention is when working with people to try and expand to this new life that they say they want is allowing them the space to take ownership of their current situation. Because what we know is that we can't make any change when someone else is holding the keys to the car. If someone else is driving, I cannot direct where my life is going. So when we live in the victim mindset, we are handing the keys to whoever we're blaming, whether it be mom, whether it be dad. And often we do that to people that we don't even have access to anymore. The amount of people that I've worked with who are like, it was my parents' fault and how they raised me, and their parents have passed since then. So like they're waiting to get some confirmation or something to change from their parents from past experiences, and their parents aren't even here anymore. And what has to be done to some extent is there needs to be an internal conversation and ownership, radical ownership that says, I'm taking responsibility for where I am. I'm not putting blame on myself. I'm not saying it was my fault that I went through this trauma. It was my fault that my parents didn't allow me to do X, Y, and Z. It's not about blaming self, blaming others. It's simply about ownership. Here is where I am today. That's where I want to go. And I'm committed to taking charge of making that happen. I'm just going to take radical ownership, because if I don't, I'm a sitting, waiting duck, hoping for something to change outside of me that may never change, because the person that you want the keys from, they might never change. They might go to their grave exactly the same as they are right now. And you want something different. So it's on you to make the change. And victim mindset is when we expect somebody else to show up differently so that we can get different results in our life. And it's never going to happen. Sometimes it might. And honestly, it's more dangerous when it does happen like that, when somebody comes and changes something for you, because then you learn the story that when I complain enough, when I make enough of a ruckus, when I get upset enough, people change for me, right? And this is what people who have often, people with a lot of money, people with a lot of getting their asses powdered their whole lives, a lot of just like, yeah, whatever you need. Those people think that the more I complain, the more money I throw at it, and the more I make a scene, the more I'll get. And what we learn ultimately is that I just need to take ownership of this thing. It's got to be on me. If I want different, I need to take ownership of it. I think that's answering what we were talking about.
I just want to go back because you had said mindset. Is this a mindset, or you want to explain for our listeners exactly what you mean by this? And is this part of mindset?
Yeah. I think when we say the word mindset in the line of work that I do, I like to think of it more than anything as perspective. A mindset is, how do you choose to see things? And that point, that word is really important. How do I choose to see it? Because when we make a choice to see something a certain way, our life will be a reflection of that choice. So if I choose to see what's working for me, my life is going to be a byproduct of all these things working together for me. If I choose to see what a problem this is, my life is going to be a byproduct of that story that this is a problem and this is a problem and this is a problem. I think a mindset really is a choice in perspective, and then allowing ourselves to make that kind of our baseline for how we choose to see things going forward.
Perspective. I appreciate that. When it comes to your philosophy of exponential growth or expansion, personal, professional, however that looks like, I'm hearing certain principles, right? You've used the word choice, radical ownership. Is there any other elements that the way you have this, your view and perspective on exponential growth?
Yeah, I think exponential growth only exists for people who are willing to be in question on a regular basis. I don't think exponential growth lives in the knowingness, right? It's not about, at least what I've seen for myself and for so many people, is the people who are trying to just know, and get knowledge. It's not about just the knowingness. It's more about how much can I live in the question of what if, what's the possibility? Is it possible that? Can I create? I wonder if. I like to call it the wonder wall. So I run a coaching program, a mindset coaching program, 8-week experience where we start with the conversation of the wonder wall. And the wonder wall is, I said, it's so fitting, these Zoom room boxes. It's kind of very fitting of what our life is like for a lot of us, is that there's this like box, and I put myself in a box, and this wall that exists around us, that's where most of us live to keep ourselves safe, is this wonder wall. And we stay inside of the, I wonder if I could, which is all outside of that wall, right? Is the, I wonder if this could be possible. I wonder if she could say that. I wonder if I could create this. We don't ask those questions openly. We wonder about it maybe. We think about like, I wonder if it could, but we don't ever live into that wonder because we're so committed to being right. We're so committed to playing it safe. We're so committed to looking good for others. That ego is screaming. It's screaming in us every day. And that says, don't you dare tap yourself outside of that wonder wall. Stay inside of your wonder wall. There's only so far you can go because of the mom you have, because of the dad you had, because of where you came from, because of how much money you have, because of how you look, because of how tall you are, because of whatever the story is. Your ego is going to do everything it can to keep you inside of that wonder wall so that you don't find yourself in question. But the second you allow yourself to be in discovery, to be in the question of what if what if I just started that business? What if I just told him I loved him? What if? We play so many games inside that box. But when we start to step in the I don't even know that I don't know, like the holy moly, this is like an area that I just have no knowingness around. We open up so much. We allow ourselves unlimited potential, which is the program I run is called Project Limitless. And we're like, for example, we're in this 8-week experience. We're in week 6-ish right now with this group. And to watch them just now, 6 weeks into every single day working on this mindset stuff, 6 weeks in, some of them are just understanding what the idea of the word limitless looks like. They're just starting to get the possibility that limitless is a thing. And it's a thing that means I can create whatever I say I want. It is so cool to watch that perspective shift, that mindset shift, when somebody goes from, these are the things I want, I really can't because of this, this, and this. Like, I'm not going to ask that question. I'm not even going to be in that possibility because my mom never had that, or my dad never had that, or they always told me I couldn't, or I've never been a reader, or whatever the story is that's limiting. To watch people understand that limitless is an option is the craziest thing. To see people embrace that idea and go like, whoa, I can have anything. I could be whatever I want. I can actually create. That whole wonder thing is real. Like, I really could make that part of my reality. Limitless is a perspective that we just embrace. And when we talk about exponential growth, same thing, right? It is expansive. It's not up or down. It's not left or right. It's in all ways, in every inch and nook and cranny of everything. That's expansion. That's limitless potential. And to watch people embrace that is just, it's an explosive thing to be a part of.
I really appreciate the wonder wall, right? That even the word wonder to me is a very powerful, it's a motivation for me. It's like not a pull, it's a push. And is there any suggestions that you would have for our listeners to stay in that? Like I'm a big one. I use the word wonderment often. So, to stay in that perspective, that limitlessness. I know there's your program. So so our listeners, you can find Nick and follow him and join.
Definitely.
And is there some practices or ways of being, or even questions we could stay in to help foster that as a choice each day?
Yeah, to be in the wonder. I think it's a constant practice of detaching from the ego, right? So I'm sure we've talked about it on this podcast at some point. The survival strategies of the ego, right? The need to be right, the need to be safe, the need to look good, the need to be in control. These survival mechanisms are constantly trying to keep us inside of that wonder wall. It's a protection thing. And I think there's so much judgment around why, like, it's so simple, right? Like it's wildly simple. Stop protecting yourself. You'll create expansive things for yourself. Like, just stop the obsessive protection of how you look, how right you are, whatever it is that you're protecting. If you stop that, you literally will allow yourself unlimited potential. And it's like, why can't we just get that? Why is it so confusing and so hard for people if it's that simple? It's simple. It's just not easy. Because when we allow ourselves the space to just like dive into that and not be so attached to the ego, it's so opposite of what we've always done, which is protection. We must allow ourselves to detach from the judgment of self, like release from this. It should be different. It should look different. I should be just okay with it. I should not be listening to my ego. The ego, it's so natural for us. We've been taught to live in protection. We've been taught to protect ourselves on a regular basis. So we do what we're taught, and we have to unlearn a lot of these things or learn new mechanisms. That's a heavy process. That's a big process. And for a lot of us, it's a lifelong process. So I think in order to help someone to foster that wonderment, that being outside of the wonder wall, I think the most important thing for us to do is, number one is awareness, right? I'm aware that I'm protecting myself. When I become aware of that, allow myself to not be in judgment of how I'm showing up, not blame myself, not be upset, but just notice that it's there. And once we have the awareness, that's when we have the freedom to change. So then when we're in that awareness, we say, okay, I give myself compassion. This is how I was taught. This is how I was, like, just education system in and of itself teaches us to play it safe and protect our money and protect our job and it's protection. This survival thing that we're all doing on a regular basis was designed in us a gazillion years ago. We've heard this all before, right? To protect us from the saber-toothed tiger, from the lions and bears. And it's like, it was just meant to design to physically protect us, not to protect our spirit, not to protect how we show up in love, not to protect our ego, but we made it about that at some point. And now we have designed a life aligned with that protection. Social media, just all the constructs that we see every day, they were built from a foundation of protection. And protection, ultimately, like really protecting our ego, that's a scarcity conversation, no? So we like built a foundation of all this stuff in scarcity. So we spend every day trying to fight it. When you're trying to live an abundant life, you're trying to fight the things that have already put in place, certainly in our Western society, not to get too deep with it, but there's so much that we have to almost spend our lives reversing. The best way I can explain it is like, I got in trouble in school. My mom had to come in kindergarten because I was hugging too many people. She got called in for a conference, and it was seen that showing an abundance of love, right? Like the teacher wasn't mad about the love. It's like, you got to protect space, right? But it wasn't fostered. It was looked down on. And my natural inclination at 6, because I'm very blessed with fantastic, loving, incredible parents who taught me love is fantastic, just lean into it. that was frowned upon naturally in our society. And it's like, isn't this like the thing that we're designed to do? Love, expand, connect. Like, this is the humanness of us that we've now lost because of the things we set in place. So again, I don't want to get like crazy into a rant, which I'm doing right now, but I think there's so much natural humanness that's being dimmed by our egoic selves that wasn't designed. We weren't designed to protect that ego. We weren't, but at some point we started to protect it. So like with everything we can have. So our freedom and living outside of that wonder wall lives in detaching from the need to protect ourselves and that ego.
I have to say, my blood is boiling. Like, it's so exciting when I'm listening to you and I'm like, fuck all the protection. Like, what do we do? Like, just drop the protection. And I know it's easier said than done. I mean, I think some people can. So, because there's traumas, there's all this conditioning, like you said, and I almost want the secret sauce. And I know you said radical acceptance, but is there a secret sauce, or it is just this whole process that you put in place to just go from, because it sounds simple. When you're saying it, it's like, oh my God, my blood's like, hell, Mark, just give up any last vestiges of protection anywhere and just go, like,
yep.
You got me on fire over here, It's like,
he's bubbling in his seat. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you bring up a great point, Mark, is that it's so simple. It sounds so simple. And like I said, it is simple. There is no rocket science here, which is why I somehow landed in this position to run a business, to serve thousands of people at this point and doing mindset work. And I have no education on this stuff, meaning I haven't studied any books. I haven't gone and worked at some school for 50 years to figure out how to be a master mindset coach. All it was I'm my highest, best self as a person. This is where it all began, as a human, when I detach from the need to protect who I am or who I'm trying to be or the ego in some way. If I can release that protection, I feel like my highest self. Then I said, I think I can help people do that because this isn't rocket science. It's just asking the questions, why are you doing it? And when we get backed into a corner, Mark, when we get backed into a corner where we don't allow ourselves any wiggle room and somebody's asking you, why are you protecting yourself? And your only answer is, I don't know, I think it's just what I've always done. Or that's just what I was taught. When you realize that that's your only answer for living the life the way that you are, then it gives you almost like this permission to just be like, oh, so if that's my only reason, which is a pretty crappy reason, why can't I just do it differently? Why can't I just choose differently? And then when we get to the point where we have been backed into the wall, we decide, okay, it makes sense to choose something different. Then it's just a matter of what I like to call the ABC method. And it stands for act boldly consistently. What would a bold, and I mean bold, the one that makes your blood boil, that makes you sweat a little bit, that makes you shake, that gives you goosebumps a little bit. What would bold look like in a scenario where you're protecting yourself and you don't want to anymore? So your natural instinct is to protect. Your natural instinct is to make sure that ego is okay and taken care of and hugged and coddled and all this stuff. And then in that moment, you realize I'm backing myself into the wall. The only reason I'm doing this is to play it safe because I'm scared of what could look like my ego getting attacked, whatever. And we make a decision for something different. And it'll be clear what that decision is. When you're being the person you want to be, it'll be clear that this, like, I should be telling this person I love them. I should be moving jobs. I should be quitting this position. I should be whatever. You know it. You'll feel it in your gut. And then it's a matter of living life in that space of bold action. And when we start to use that ABC method, act boldly consistently, with that C word, we start to do it consistently. Your life starts to reflect that. And the more you do it, that simple thing, which is just decisions that are aligned with the person you want to be, the more you take that simple action, the more your life is a byproduct of that experience. The more you start to see that your world is now built on a foundation of not protection, but abundant aligned choices. And it's like, this is it the whole time? I just had to listen to my instinct. I just had to trust my gut.
Alignment.
I just had to, I was just saying to someone, y'all, I don't know if you guys played this game when you were kids. We had this, like, it was like a little square, and it had these little trucks in it and a little taxi thing. And the idea was you had to shift everything left and right and forward and back, right, to adjust to get the taxi to the other side, right, to exit to the other side. I think we are all playing that game every single day. The entrance or the exit to where it is, whatever we're trying to get to on the other side, it's always there. It's right there. And the only reason you can't drive through it is because you want to be so right that the truck only goes left or right, left or right, left or right, left or right. And we keep doing the same dumb crap over and over, moving it left, moving it right, moving it left, moving it right, then complaining about it, telling everybody and their mother that, look, it doesn't work. See, I'm doing it left and right. We don't allow ourselves to be in wonderment of what if it went up and down? What if you went 2 to the right and 1 down to the left and then 3 to the right, and you just started playing with it differently in a way you've never seen it before, without judgment? You just tried to play with it differently. And when we do that, when we allow ourselves to be in question, the thing has always been there. It's just the resistance gets pushed out of the way, and it's a super clear path right on through. And our job is not to manipulate and change and adjust and make everything different. But what if our job was just to release all the resistance that you've put in place in your life?
Agreed.
So many doors would open.
Thank you, Nick, for the metaphor, because you're doing that. I'm a visual person, so I really was like, oh my God, there really is an exit to every situation.
Always.
Right. And surrendering the expectation it's got to look the way I want, or the righteousness, as you just said, really does open up an allowing, right? The wonderment is like, okay, so today that's as far as I could, like, that's where I was today. All I could see was 2 over. Maybe tomorrow when I detach even further, I can get that it's 2 down and 3 over. Like, right? Not having to have it, I got to know it now, or it's got to be. And the pressures, I really appreciate that, because that is a very helpful metaphor to really be able to see that, like, it's just not coming in the way or how or the when that our ego wants it to be. And that is the resistance we create.
I just would invite you, whoever's listening at this moment, I would invite you to imagine time as a partner of yours, an intimate partner of yours. And what if you walked into the room with that intimate partner, and every single time you walked in the room, you said, you're doing it too quickly, the way you're doing it is not right, or you're not doing it quickly enough, right? The way you've got it going on right now, this is just horrible. This is not how it's supposed to be. I would imagine, if it's any person with any sense, after a certain amount of time, they would get sick and tired of you telling them how they should be showing up. And they would leave you. And they wouldn't work with you anymore. They wouldn't want to spend any time with you. They wouldn't want to date you anymore. They wouldn't want to be in the same room, because you are constantly telling them you aren't doing it right. And I would invite you to look at how you talk to time. What's your relationship with time? Because time for so many people is, it's not happening fast enough, or it's happening too fast. It is so regularly an unhealthy relationship. It is very rarely, I'm just letting this thing flow. Whenever it's time for it to happen, it's going to happen. Awesome. And trust that time is working in your favor. It is a partner of yours. You are in an intimate relationship with it, and it's not trying to hurt you or manipulate you or call you out or make you look like a dummy. That's not what time's intention is. But you've got this thing, that you've got this vendetta against time, because you're saying, oh, it's never shown up in the way that it's supposed to. Obviously, that partner wouldn't stick around for a long time if you treated it like that. So why are you treating the thing that we all value so much? We all value time so much, because it's the only thing that's going to be taken from us. Once we're done with this chapter, or whatever this realm is, this world, this like life that you're living, time is the thing that's keeping you here. And then when your time runs out, when you don't have any more of it, you'll really wish you had a better relationship with it when it's gone. How many of you have parents that are dead that you said, I wish they could be back here so I can heal my relationship with them? And you feel empty and broken because you feel like you can't fix that because it's gone. Time will eventually be gone. Why are you ruining relationship with it while it's in the room and it's trying to be intimate with you? It's trying to love you, and you don't let it. You just tell it it's wrong. Is it possible that you could have a healthier, more abundant, more loving relationship with this thing we call time, and just trust that what it's doing for you, like, it's okay. It's helping you. It's serving you. It's loving you. It's taking care of you. It's on your team. Just act like it. And then maybe it might start working in ways that you couldn't imagine.
Thank you.
Yes, you've given us a lot. I always hear alignment because that's where I come from. So when you're saying just align to who you are, just be who you are. Your soul's telling you, it's speaking through you. For our listeners, can you give us a couple things they could do like right now? I mean, I know you've given a lot, but like steps right now they could take to start aligning, to start creating that shift.
Y'all heard of stop, drop, and roll. We learned it in school in case there's a fire, right? Stop, drop, and roll. Stop, drop, and roll. A lot of us, our lives are on fire. It feels like that. I got to fix this. It's got to be done. So the method actually, for me, in my life and what I've seen work with a lot of people, the method works really well. Stop, drop, and roll. So stop is the first piece. And again, we'll call it 3 steps. Number 1, just stop. I think the biggest challenge for people when they're trying to create change is that they never stop. They're always just trying to steamroll through the current experience. They don't give themselves a pause. So stop. And there needs to be, when we're trying to go any different way in life, something needs to stop it. What I like to talk about with decision-making, neural pathways, and we'll package this so we have something for people to take, but I want to get this idea across before we move forward. Our neural pathways in the simplest form are kind of like this path your brain takes when an event occurs. It sparks a synapse in the brain and it goes down this neural pathway, and then it comes to a crossroad. We'll call it 2 ways, left and right, but there's a billion ways, of course, just in the limitless perspective. You can make any decision about anything, right? But to keep it simple for this example, we'll call it left or right. And at some point when you were 5 or 6 or 7 or whatever it was, something happened around this topic, this thing, and you learned or you pulled the trigger and made a decision that I'm going to go left when things happen. So when authority talks to me, my response is to get down on myself. When I am in conversation with authority, I'm going to turn left and get down on myself that I've done something wrong. At some point that happened when you were whatever years old. Both of the left and right? The right would be, I celebrate the opportunity to speak to the person in power and I'm going to create awesome relationship with this person. That could be right, for example. Both were dirt roads when you first made that decision. They were just little like dirt paths with bushes and trees and whatever. And then you went down that left way and you walked down that path. And then the next time it happened, even if it didn't feel good, you made that decision again because it was comfortable. It was what you've known, and you'll be okay with taking the action that you know, even if it doesn't really work for you that much. You'll do it again because you know it, and it's almost safer to go down the thing that we know, right? So you walk down it again, and you did it again. And every single time anybody in power spoke to you, you made a left, to the point where that little dirt road became a paved road, and then a 2-lane road, and then a 5-lane traffic-filled LA highway, while this other thing has butterflies and squirrels and whatever running around on the path. And you could go right whenever you want. You literally can make that choice at any moment. But instead, you choose to go down the path that you've always known, that you've always experienced, even if it isn't working for you, because we rather dance with the devil that we know than the devil that we don't. So let me spend time there. So when we talk about stop, drop, and roll, what we're doing is being a roadblock in that neural pathway experience, which you've done for so many years, and you have a 5-lane highway in the way that you've always done it, and always turn left at whatever that thing is. In this case, it's the boss scenario. The stopping is when the event occurs, you stop and you ask yourself, is this a decision that's aligned with who I want to be and the life I want to live? It's that simple. And there is always a yes or no answer. Always. Is this aligned with the person I say I want to be? You will find a billion excuses, fears, and perspectives that will say, like, it is, but you also don't want it. You want to protect that person's feelings, and you want to do this. And last time you tried that, it hurt your feelings and it hurt their feelings, and you don't want it. And your brain will go to protect yourself, right? In the ego. So it'll tell you, just please make the left. You've always made the left. We know how to deal with the left. Go left. And it's exhausting to make the right. Why? because our brain has to work so much harder. It's an area we haven't yet swam in. So your brain is like totally working on hyperdrive, which is why people start this work for about 5 minutes and stop it 5 minutes later, because it's exhausting. One of the main things when I work with people, I buy them a device. It's called NuCalm. And NuCalm is literally a miracle device. I've studied the science for a year and a half. It doesn't make sense. It's not from this planet. The dude who created it just passed away in December. It's been around for 20 years. It was a medical grade device. And what it does is it settles your autonomic nervous system and your central nervous system and your automatic response to things. And essentially what you do is you put this little patch. It's a little sticker, and I can't really explain. The science is so in depth, and I won't waste your time with it. But essentially you put a sticker on your wrist and you listen to neuroacoustic beats, which you've all heard of. Neuroacoustic beats in some way or some shape. This company has patented the way in which they do it, which is the only device on the entire planet. There's nothing else in existence that has this type of sophistication around what it can do to your brain and how it can manage the brain and the autonomic nervous system and the response to things. So the autonomic nervous system has a gazillion year head start on us and has been trained to act a certain way and to say just like, oh, just stop, drop, and roll. It's so easy. But the autonomic nervous system is the thing that says, no, make the left, go. Turn left, please. It's a protection thing. And protection, as much as we'd like to say, it's just as simple as change your mind. It is that simple, but there's so much that goes into protecting you in that moment. And that's our autonomic nervous system. That device helps people to not be run by the autonomic nervous system. Again, endless science behind it. It's called NuCalm, NuCalm. Look it up. And if you have any questions about it, reach out to me. I've become very friendly with the guy who's running the company now. It was a $6,000 medical grade device up until 2 or 3 years ago, I think. Now they have an at-home version, which is just crazy that they figured out how to make an at-home version. And it will be in everybody's living room within the next 10 years is what I imagine. So I share this with people and I buy this for every client I work with because what I want to do is give them the best advantage they can to taking on the biggest challenger they have, which is that autonomic nervous system. Just from a physiological response standpoint, you're going to want to always make that left. And I request for people to stop first, notice the desire to go left. And when all of the heat and the fear and the sweating and the nervousness comes up, I want you to ABC that bad boy and take that bold action to the right because you deserve it, because your life lives on the other side of decisions on that other path that you've neglected to take for so long. In order to do that, we must drop our ego, drop our need to be right, drop our safety, drop our comfort, right? That's where the drop comes in. So you're at that crossroads, you stop yourself, you drop the story of protection, and you roll with a new way of being. You roll with a new decision. You roll with a new experience. And the word roll is so beautiful, right? Because roll, whether you're tilted left or right or up or down, it allows you to roll. You go with where the tilts are taking you and the circumstances are taking you. It's not stop, drop, and sprint straight in the perfect line forward. It's roll with what comes up. So I would challenge you, whoever you are listening to this, the biggest change you can make is whatever's right in front of you. Focus on this. It doesn't need to, I need to quit my job today. That's a big decision. That's a heavy decision. Doesn't mean I need to get a divorce today. Maybe you need to get a divorce. Maybe you need to quit your job. Maybe you need to do whatever it is. But can you start with, I made a commitment to waking up at 6 a.m. Or I said I was going to eat healthy today. Or I said I was going to walk to work, not take an Uber. Whatever it is, like, for, I guess, my fitness background just came in. Everything about that was health and wellness. But it can be anything. It can be anything. So stop the automatic, drop the ego and the safety and protection, and roll with a new perspective and a new way of being.
I just want to speak to that. Phenomenal. We do a challenge for our listeners, and there it is right there. Take one item in their life, stop, drop, and roll. It was explained completely. Just follow that. Stop whatever it is, drop everything around it, and roll. So yes. Thank you, and share that.
And they can share it on their social media handles and tag the BTO podcast. and Nick Pegs.
Yep.
So, Nick, I want to go back to one part, and that's the crossroads, the right or left. I use that metaphor often in my coaching and in my psychotherapy. And the pause, my distinction is the power of the pause. And I hear you have the app, and I find that this is one of the things I hear from my clients. It's so hard, right? Because we know there's an automatic, like you said, right? We're ingrained. The turn, we've done that so many times. And to be able in the moment to have that level of awareness, because it's happening everywhere. I mean, go brush your teeth. I guarantee you people have a certain toothpaste, how much they put on, right? It's all automatic. They're not even sitting there pausing and go, I'm going to change my toothpaste. No, right? So they go into work, they go into a relationship, they have their come from already. And I have also worked with a lot of hacks about, right, where are you grounding? So you have a question, you said, right, is this in alignment with the life I say I want? The ABC method, even the stop, drop, and roll. Someone who may be very, I'll say visual, I notice they do really well with having some Post-its. So I'll say to them, right, before you do make that response, if you need that reminder to say, right, just exactly what you just said, like, is this in alignment with what I want? I say I want in my life. Also, there's people who are kinesthetic. So I will often say to them, like, are you wearing a bracelet or a wedding band? Can you stop and just pause that moment there? I don't know if you have some other hacks, because either or that device works and it's like, ding, 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 you're making a right hand turn. Don't do it. I don't know that equipment, but I think that's the place where I find I'm so in agreement with you and what I've even seen in my own life. If I'm not in automatic, so for me, I have a team, right? So Mark's one of my team. Like I call him and be like, bro, the poop's hitting the fan and I want to make the right hand turn. I know I want to make the right hand turn. It's safe. I know it. I won't be exposed. And Mark, being one of my cheerleaders, will be like, Claude, are you in alignment with this? His word is this a hell yes? And then I'm like, oh shit, no, it's not a hell yes. And he's like, well then, don't make the right hand turn. It's time to go left. Any other hacks or, right? Because I think that moment of pause is so critical, like you said, and people are in their stuff. They're living, they're lifing, right?
I just wanted to add to that. It's like when I haven't been in a long time, but if you're like in an argument or you're in that in relationship, to stop yourself is so hard. Everybody talks about it. It's like, you're on fire. You can't. I know I should stop, but I can't stop. Like, so Claude's asking that question. What is that to hold you from going to that?
I know this is what I'll just say. This is my hack because this has come up recently. I've had some, I would say strong conflicts, but conflictual experiences. And I now go, I'm deregulated. I know I'm deregulated. So it's not an excuse. It's like, that's my way of going pause, because what you're going to get from me right now is not my highest version. It's my survival. Right. And when I'm deregulated, I'm like, I'm pumped. The adrenaline and the biologics are now in here. And I'm like, it can't go to your nervous system. Go, stop. So I try to create some space between me and the person because I love them. And I'm like, I need a timeout. This is not going to go the way we both want to bring our relationship forward in a way. And conflict's okay too. I'm not saying we shouldn't have conflict, but I'm trying to get aware of myself. If I'm deregulated, I could say that. And and that's a high awareness. I've been working at this for a while. It's available to anybody, but I don't know if there's anything that we're speaking into in that moment.
Yeah. First of all, I freaking love you guys so much. You guys are such a beautiful addition to this world. It's unbelievable. It's just like to see how you two work with each other and for each other and how that plays a role in working with other people in the world. It's just, you're just such good souls and I love you both so much. So
thank you.
Start there. So there's a couple things here. First of all, you talked about how the autonomic nervous system kind of runs rampant in those moments. And you're absolutely right, which I don't want to beat a dead horse, but that's why this thing, NuCalm, is such a miracle worker in the line of work that we do, because it's not something that you wear on your wrist all day and that it shocks you when, like a dog collar when you're doing the wrong thing. It's what it is a 20, 30, 40, 50, whatever minute nap where it feels like a nap, but you're actually floating in theta state, which is the state that monks get to when they're in deep meditation. It puts you there in 3 minutes and it keeps you there. And that's our restorative state. That's our state where our body restores, but it's also our state where our mind restores. So you're not expected to do NuCalm in the moment of the tough decision. when you do it, and the more you do it, the more it becomes. So I've been doing it for a little over a year. A little over a year, pretty much every day. And before that, I was doing it inconsistently for a long time. What it's shown me is that it has given me the ability to not be so run by it, because the automaticness of the experience is now, it's almost like less heightened. It's chilled out a little bit. It's like, it allows me to look at a moment and give myself the stop before the drop and roll, right? And I think what I'm hearing you say, Claudine, is like, sometimes I can't even get to the stop because I'm so heated, because I'm so frustrated, because there's so much going on. It's so ingrained and it's so automatic. How do I get that? So that's where the product has become incredibly helpful, is like, it's not helping. You don't use it in that moment, but the more you use it, the more your autonomic nervous system is being deregulated, and it's stopping from the like craziness of its automatic action. So that's been a really big hack. But I love that you're saying the word hack, because I think that has become, in our hack culture, that has become one of the most dangerous perspectives around this work, is that there has to be a hack. There's got to be an easier way. It's got to be faster. It's got to, again, relationship with time. What if, I want you to hear this and listen to it and see what comes up for you naturally when I say this. What if you'll be working on this until you're dead? I think when I say that, most people are like, well, then I'm not going to work on it. What's the point? And I think that's the blockage between where people can change their life or not, is they say, unless I have a clear outcome with it, an exact time of when it's going to happen and what it's going to look like, and what I'm like, my ROI, exactly. This is why this work is it's so hard to get people in the door. Once you're in the door, you realize, I don't want to live my life without this. Like that's what I'm sure you guys have experienced that. I know you have, right? Once you're in the door of this work, working on yourself and like having the awareness and checking yourself and changing your automatic response, you never want to stop that, because every single decision you make that's aligned with the person you want to become, which happens from the work, feels vibrant and amazing. And it's like, oh, this is why God gave me a body and a mind and a spirit, so I can feel this thing that I'm feeling right now. And then it's like, why do you want to stop it? If that's what, like, that's really, you think it's because you're here because you are meant to get the mansion. You're here because you're meant to raise a family. You're here because you're meant to have that position. What if you're here to have that ridiculously vibrant experience of like, whoa, that feels so good. This feels so right. So to say, the idea of the hacking culture, the hacking perspective, which is obviously just a part of everything we've built on this planet, which is like, can we do it faster? Can we do it more efficiently? Can we do it quicker? Can we do it with less energy put in? And I think that, I hope.
Stop, drop, and roll.
Yeah, stop, drop, and roll. Seriously. I hope that never changes. I hope this work doesn't get easier. I really hope that, because it will lose what its essence is if it was easy. The whole essence of it is that it's a process, is that there isn't necessarily an arrival, and that expansion means, like the universe, it just never, there's no like, okay, we hit like the Milky Way, it's done. There's no more left. Like it's ongoing, ever, like never stopping. And it's almost like while we're in the game, before we croak, let's just go as far as we can. Let's just expand let's get as expansive as possible. There isn't necessarily a spot to get to. So then why are you trying to hack? Hack what? Hack would be, I want to get to the finish line. Let me get there quicker. What finish line are you trying to reach? And I think when you're really in this game of this work, when you're really expanding, there's no intention of like getting to a finish line. There's intention of getting the house, maybe getting the car, maybe getting the feeling, getting the experience, getting the relationship. You can get those things. Cool. That's part of it. And maybe there is no like hack to a finish line. And that I as you saying it, I felt the thing that was screaming in me was like, no, I don't have an answer for you, Claudine. And I hope there never is one, because there shouldn't be in this stuff. This stuff is ongoing. This stuff is designed to go at the triggers, designed to go at what's broken, designed to go at the thing that isn't aligned with what you want for your life. It's not meant to go at the thing that feels really great and then we're done. It's designed to constantly go at the thing you want to grow into and expand. So it'll always feel like you're not there. It is the donkey carrot situation. You're always going to be reaching for something, every second of it. So instead of trying to actually bite the carrot, how about creating a new relationship with the search for the carrot or the reaching of it? Because it's the relationship with the process that we struggle with. It isn't. If we had a healthy relationship with process, we wouldn't be complaining about needing a hack.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the embodiment is becoming. Always in a becoming. In this curriculum, in this skin bag, as we call it, right?
Yeah.
It's
no end. Evolution, no end.
Yeah, and I just to give it perspective, I mean, the last thing I'll say about it that I think is really interesting. I was just writing to a client of mine. His job is to take very, very wealthy people on some of the most incredible, expansive trips of a lifetime to do some good in the world. So the Untold Legacy is the name of his business, and he takes people on just the most extravagant trips, or he sets them up. He's a travel agent. And what he does is he allows himself to make sure that people are having these like incredible, awesome experiences. And the one that I saw on his Instagram today was a couple going in, and they were doing something to help gorillas. Okay. And they were literally standing next to live gorillas and like 3 feet away. And these things are massive and they're huge. And I wrote to him, I'm like, bro, this is just insane. This is crazy. And his response was, without just right away, he goes, they share 98.5% of the DNA that we have. 98.5% of our DNA is identical to an animal that doesn't speak, that's just like living in the wild doing its thing. We have come this far in evolution, this many years, and we still are that close to an animal. I want to just slow your roller on your need to have this expand, like everything needs to change in my lifetime. Everything needs to be different. We are 2% away from an animal, dude. And I'm not trying to say slow down and just like, you shouldn't try for things but we're talking about years and years and years. You said evolution, Mark, and this is what got me. Like, we're evolving. We're in evolution, and you're not going to beat something. You're not going to get to like, now I only have 70% shared with the monkey because the gorilla, because I'm more like, no, you're still 98% like an animal. So there's so much of you that's in evolution in the I mean, this is a big concept, but in the grand scheme of evolution in this world, we're this close to a monkey, man. So like, you're doing a fantastic freaking job being 2% away from a monkey. A fantastic job. Start treating yourself like that.
Oh, it's a great perspective. Thank you for the reminder.
Yeah.
All right. It gets back to our egos.
Putting it in some different form, that's for sure.
Oh my gosh. I think it's a great space to really kind of wrap our show today and be like, is there any last words of wisdom that you would want to share with us, or as we wrap today's up?
I think that piece right there that we just spoke about is so important, is like, have some grace with yourself, man. Like, you're doing a hell of a job. You are doing a hell of a job with what you've been through, with the life you've lived, with the trauma you've experienced, with what that person said to you or what they didn't say to you, with the breakup that you went through or the loss that you went through or the death or the whatever it is, you're doing a hell of a job, man, with what you got. And I wish you would see that. I wish you would allow yourself to just love you like some other people love you. I wish you would allow yourself to celebrate what you've created and how far you've come and what you've been through. I wish you would just give yourself the grace, because if you could give yourself the grace to just be with where you're at and just love you as you are and just celebrate everything that you've accomplished and what you've created, and love yourself for where you're at, man, your whole biology, your whole chemistry would change. You would have such a different frequency, and that frequency would attract so many amazing things. It's there. It's almost like you got to give it permission to be let out. Like, open the gates, stop all the resistance, the things that you want, the life that you want. It's not that it's not there. It's that you're not allowing it in. And a lot of the resistance is created because of your judgment of self. So what I would beg of you is to just like find a way, if you can, if you'd allow yourself to just love you, to just like celebrate yourself and be okay with your journey, because you deserve that. Man, you're just awesome. So I hope you can start acting like it.
Great words.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I feel like we could just go on forever. So thank you for that.
We could with this room. I bet we could. I hope to do it again.
I just want to clarify before we leave. You work with individuals and groups, or you have one or the other, or everything?
Yeah. So my group stuff is how I started. I actually started this experience with a friend who, her name's Jess Glazer. She started a business called Empower, or Digital Business Evolution now is what it's transformed into. And she helps people build online businesses. So she was a friend of mine and just from the fitness industry. And she was talking to me. She's like, well, why don't you do more of this stuff that you do? You should build this online. It would be great. And I was kind of her test dummy. I was the second person that she ever, quote unquote, worked with to start helping build a business a couple of years ago. And I failed horribly at it. I just it was all like, MailChimp and Canva and Kajabi and build the business and structure the thing, none of which vibes with me. I'm just not a computer. I mean, the fact that we are here on a computer is a miracle. So on my end, it's great. So I kind of flunked it, you could say. But what she noticed a couple weeks later, she had asked me to speak at an event she was hosting. So I spoke at this event. And she said to me right after the event, what you just did was exactly what I want in like the space for my community and what I'm building. Would you be open to working with me and helping people go through the mindset portion of this, building this business thing? And I was like, Jess, I failed through your whole thing. She was like, I know, but it's not about that. It's about the mindset. Can you do it? So that's where I began the group coaching experience, and still to this day work with her and just love the experience of working with that community. And she's done incredible. To watch her expand to what she's done is awesome. And then in turn, I started to create the group coaching project Limitless. And that was a pretty serious passion project. It was like the idea of just helping people kind of break through the limiting beliefs that they're experiencing in their life and all the stuff that we're talking about here. I had no idea what I was doing. Actually, the first one I ever did, I called Master My Mind, and it was 8 people. And it was like, I don't know, $800 for 3 months or something like that. And that was the first realization that like, oh, wow, I might be able to be a really huge resource for people to change their life. Turned into Project Limitless. We're in the middle of round 4 right now. We'll start round 5, probably end of March in 2022. So that's our like kind of first, like we're building things right now, guys, that hopefully will be very affordable or free to have people access this work in a way where they don't have to invest a ton of money. The work that I have right now, it is expensive, and it's expensive because of the time, energy, effort, and team we've built in order to make it happen. It's incredibly high touch, which brings me to the one-on-one experience, which now I only work with 10 or less people at a time. It's ridiculously high touch. And what I mean by that is we're in constant conversation for the first 3 weeks at least. Probably a month. I tend to only do 6-month containers or a year. And what we do is a deep dive into your automatics, which is everything we've talked about. Like, I want to know your your schedule for everything. Like, how are you waking up? How are you going to bed? What's happening with every little bit in between? I'm very obnoxious in the first week or two because I want to learn you. And I think that in this work, if you're not willing to fully give yourself to it, you're going to just kind of like tiptoe in. It's like dipping your toe in the water and expecting to learn how to swim. So my version of one-on-one coaching is very intensive. It's like we're going to dive in together. And I'm going to walk with you on that journey as you go through that process. I will not tell you what to do. I will not guide you. I don't have any perspectives or beliefs that you should latch onto. I just open space for somebody to discover their own stuff. So my one-on-one is super, super intensive, but really profound and powerful, and incredibly intimate. So we have those two offerings right now. Hopefully we'll have a lot more accessible. Like, we're working on that right now. Me and my team are working on, online things that you won't have access to me one-on-one, but you'll have access to the work and the content, and you can create a lot just from that. So we're trying to make it as accessible as possible this year.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Wow. Well, our listeners, you have the opportunity to continue in deepening your relationship with Nick. I hope you'll follow up and they'll learn everything they need in the show notes so they can reach out to you and connect.
Thanks.
Awesome. And thank you too for everything you do. It is such a pleasure to be in the room with you too. I love the time.
Same here.
I'm super grateful.
Thank you.
Thank
Same
you
here.
for making the time during this holiday time. And we hope to see you in the future. So for everything, we will just want to thank everyone for listening to the Breakthrough the Ordinary podcast. We hope you've enjoyed this episode and a deep dive into mindset and really a relationship with yourself, your triggers, your automatics. I love, stop, drop, and roll. So if you want to support this podcast, please leave a rating and share with others and post on social media. To catch the latest, follow us at the BTO Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. And thanks again, and we'll see you next time.